Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. I am Brian Boland. Thank you all for joining me once again. What I want to talk about in this video is the controversy concerning Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and his support for what is called an advanced placement curriculum in Florida, in the Florida schools, which essentially advocated, and this is where the criticism comes from, advocated that many of the skills that the African American slaves or slaves in general learned in slavery, in American slavery, was beneficial to them. Now the left is saying that that's racist, that the conservatives, i.e. the Republicans, are supporting racism, or rather supporting slavery. But let's get into this article and see exactly what this is all about, because I don't believe at all that that is supporting racism. And I said this, or slavery rather, and I said this in one of my previous videos, but I want to elaborate on it a little bit more here in this video because I kind of touched on it in the last video. So let's get into this article. It says the advanced placement AP curriculum championed by many left-wing advocates include language similar to that which Democrats have seized upon to claim that Florida's own history curriculum is, quote, pro-slavery. As Breitbart News reported, Vice President Kamala Harris led the attack against Florida's new curriculum, which includes the line, quote, instruction includes how slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. Now, just based off of that particular statement right there, do you believe that that's racist or supporting slavery? Just think about that a moment. Instruction includes how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. For one, this line here clearly is connected to something else. So clearly, this is a sentence that is taken from something else. So clearly, I don't want to say it's taken out of context, but you could argue that it's taken out of context. Because it says instructions include how slaves develop skills, which in some instances could be applied for their own personal benefit. Instruction. So clearly the instruction, and I haven't read the whole document, so I don't know. I wasn't there. But if it's saying instruction includes how slaves develop skills, what that would suggest to me is that the instruction that these slaves received was from their slave masters. Some of the slave masters did teach, and I looked this up, and then I did study this. Some of the slave masters did teach the slaves certain trades, such as carpentry and so forth, in order to be more productive in the field. Okay, American slavery wasn't everything that people put it out to be, especially what the left tried to put it out to be. Like it was completely like, oh my goodness, it's the worst thing ever happened. Although American slavery was one of the most oppressive forms of slavery in history. It was, because it was a lot of it was psychological. There was some things that came out of it that was superior to other forms of slavery in other areas of the world. And I'm not going to name those areas. The slaves were not taught trades and so forth, regardless of the motive. They weren't taught certain trades. They weren't. Some of the slaves in American history were taught certain trades, whether it was to be more productive in the field or whatever. They were taught certain trades. So when they became free, they took those trades or that training with them, and it benefited them. That's not supporting slavery. That's simply saying it benefited them. Okay, let's go on, because I don't have much time here. Let's go on. The White House followed suit, claiming that, quote, extreme officials in Florida were trying to teach children that, quote, enslaved people actually benefited from slavery. They didn't benefit from slavery. Some of the enslaved people did benefit from some of the skill sets that they learned. And when they were set free, that helped them. That's why some of the slaves that were set free, that's why some of them were so successful after they were set free. You had other slaves that had not learned these trades, that had not learned these kind of skill sets. And when they were basically set free from slavery, many of the slaves decided to stay with the slave master. Why? Because they didn't have any they didn't have any skill sets. They hadn't learned any of these the slave master hadn't taught them any of these skill sets. So they preferred to stay with the slave master. That's not my opinion. That's factual data. That's part of American history. they decided to stay with the slave masters because they felt, well, if I go out here in the unknown, I might starve. I'm not going to. I don't have any skills. But if I stay with my slave master, at least I know I'm going to be fed. I'm going to have a roof over my head. My medical, my doctor bills are going to be taken care of. Everything would have been taken care of them. So many slaves stayed with their slave masters even after the Emancipation of Proclamation was signed. Even after the Civil War, when all that had happened, they decided to stay with the slave master because they didn't have the skills, such as carpentry and all the rest, that would have helped them find work after they had been set free. That's a part of history. Okay, let's go on. A part of American history. But let's go on. But here's what the article says. But the curriculum itself highlighted the, quote, harsh conditions of slavery, along with the, quote, service and sacrifice of African patriots during the Revolutionary War. In other words, it's all about what you highlight. I said this before, and most historians have said this. It's about what you highlight. Many different things happened during American slavery, good and bad. It's what you highlight that will determine the outcome or the mindset of the class you're teaching it to. So if you're teaching only the horrible, harsh conditions of slaves in American slavery to the class, and that's all you teach, you don't teach anything else, you just teach the horrible conditions and oppressiveness of white systemic racism and slavery, then what do you think the students in that class are going to feel? Particularly the black ones going to feel enraged. The white ones are going to feel guilty, which is really actually the objective of the Marxist professors and teachers anyway. Okay, but that's how they're going to feel. What this curriculum is doing, it's mentioning different aspects of slavery, the good and the bad, not all the bad. It's mentioning the good and the bad, something the left doesn't want black people to know. It's the left that's a piece of trash, and I tell it in their face. The left don't care about y'all, okay? Stop voting for them. They do not care. They're the ones wanting to destroy you. They're the ones think you inferior, boo. Come on, man. Okay, let's go on. Let me calm down. I ain't got much time. That's it. Okay. It says, and a black scholar who worked on the curriculum called Harris's attack, quote, categorically false. Now it emerges that the AP curriculum, which activists pushed Florida to adopt, includes similar language. In other words, the people who was all for pushing up, it had similar language. It says, here's one from Matt. Here's a tweet from Matt Walken. He says the AP African American Studies course that the entire establishment media wanted Florida to adopt says the exact same thing the new Florida standards say. In addition to agricultural work, this is what it says, enslaved people learned specialized trades as painters, carpenters, tailors, musicians, and healers in the North and South. Wow. So let me read that again here. Let me read that in its fullness. In addition to agricultural work, the AP curriculum states, enslaved people learned specialized trades and worked as painters, carpenters, tailors, musicians, and healers in the North and South. Once free, Americans, slaves, used these skills to provide for themselves and others. Just like I said. The point in both cases appears to be to highlight the agency and determination of black Americans to succeed even in the worst circumstances. Earlier this year, Florida rejected the AP curriculum because it violated state law that bars the teaching of critical race theory. That rejection and other criticism led the College Board to revise the curriculum. At the time, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, I hope that's how I'm pronouncing her name, but if not, I don't care, slammed Governor Ron DeSantis for the decision, calling it, quote, incomprehensible, please. They kill me with these names, incomprehensible. What is that supposed to, how does that apply to this? Shut up. And accusing him of racism, noting that he had not banned AP European history. End of article there. Why would he ban European history? Why would you ban European history? What sense does it make? You don't ban it. You tell it like it is. Give all of the historical facts. Let me start summing this video up. I'm going to go back to my original thought. Okay? I'm going to go back to my original thought. It's what you focus on that makes the difference in the history of American slavery. It's what you focus on. If you focus only on the bad, slaves being whipped, slave women being raped by the slave masters, if that's all you focus on, then what do you think the perceptions of the students are going to be? You already know the answer. But if you mix it up and tell them the good and the bad, then you show them, okay, slavery in and of itself was oppressive, it was wrong, morally wrong, but there were certain things that many of the slaves did benefit from. They did learn carpentry and tailoring and all the rest. Not all the slaves learned this, but some did. That's what the curriculum is saying. It's not saying slavery was good for the slaves. That's not what it's saying, based on what I can see. But once again, this is the Democrats trying to put the blame on the Republicans and conservatives as being the ones that promote slavery. It's classic Democratic mumbo jumbo. The very party, oh my God, you tell people this, they still don't get it. They think you're making it up. The very party that enslaved blacks during slavery, they were all Democrats, boo-boo. When the slaves were set free and certain laws was put in place, the first civil rights law was in 1866, boo-boo. It wasn't in 1964, boo. In 1964, it was in 1866. Yeah, it was 1966. And guess who supported that civil rights law? Mostly voted for Republicans. But guess why it didn't come to pass? Because Democrats fought against it. Let me summarize this video this way. The very people that are actually the very political party that tried to stop blacks from being prosperous in every way possible is the very political party that's playing this projection game. And they've been doing it for decades and it has worked. But it's high time for black Americans to wake up and see who's the real liars here. This curriculum is not promoting the justification of slavery, clearly based on what you can see, okay, and based on what I've read. Read the article for yourself. You'll see that. Come on, man. Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic and stop playing these games. Not no Uncle Tom nonsense. That ain't what it's all about. That's a bunch of bull crap. I don't go for it. I don't support it. I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Okay? People need to get their facts straight. They need to do a little bit of studying of history in order to find out. Don't be so one-sided. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Then you can see. I'm not saying that towards anybody that's watching the video, but I'm just saying. I'm more aggressive now than I used to be because I'm getting leery of all the foolishness. Okay? I'm getting leery of all of it. But that's what I had to say about that. Kamala Harris is full of crap, and the left is full of crap. Election time is coming, and they're playing that same game again. But I am not falling for it. Bottom line. Ron DeSantis didn't want them putting critical race theory in there. All that other junk and nonsense designed to keep the races and the ethnic groups separated. That's what that's about. It's Marxism 101. And that's what I got to say about it. What are you guys' thoughts on this? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all and see you again.